Hello everybody and welcome to Wine Library TV. I'm your host, Sir Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is the Elegance Hour, aka Wine Library TV. Now, you have not seen me in a long time. I've not been on the show since episode 283, July of 2007, 3 full years ago. I mentioned at that time, Christopher, can you please link that up properly down below? I mentioned at that time that I would be on often. However, I've not. We all know why. Because that other guy, Gary, big ego, doesn't want to share the spotlight, rarely wants to even have guests now, I hear. Is that true? This is episode 900. It's a very big episode. I'm still not quite sure how we convinced him to let me take over. Maybe we didn't convince him, Christopher. Maybe it was more that we outsmarted him, because clearly we are smarter than he is. And unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for you at home, we've got inferior wine right now in front of us. Pinot Grigio, varietal that I'm not very excited about, only when it's proper, from the Alsace as Pinot Gris. This movement in Oregon, the Pinot Gris movement, is laughable. Americans can never make good Pinot Gris, but that's fine. Do as you wish. These three in front of me are widely available. I understand that that's been a theme of the show lately, that for some unknown reason, Gary cares about the masses out there and would like them to try along. I, on the other hand, drink wines that you peons can never drink. 45s, 61s, 82s, things that you can only dream about or write about or make pretend you have. I, on the other hand, drink them often, and I know what I'm doing when I drink them. I understand them. I respect them in a way that you never can, and that's why I am Sir Gary Vaynerchuk. However, I did say that I wanted to do this episode, and thus I will drink the wines in front of me. I will be as fair as I can, as I always am. So let's get into the first wine. Christopher, I'll need you to come in on this label properly, slowly, and elegantly, if you don't mind. This is the Ecco Domani 2009 Pinot Grigio. This wine is $9 American. On that note, the euro is better than the American dollar. I will now smell this wine properly. There's a subtle melon component to this wine. I once again want to remind you that I did not choose these wines because the gentleman that normally runs this show is doing broad market wines. I have to do it. As you guys may recall, the last time I was on this show, July of 2007, I did Corton Charlemagne, proper wine, respected wine. Once again, I will continue. There's a hint of lemon lime component. Sprite or 7-Up, is that the things you drink here? I think that's what it smells like a little bit. Once again, the melon component is coming through on the back end of the nose. I will now taste this wine. Surprisingly balanced, I would give it that. But it is kind of freshman-like, simple, first year of high school or college. Does not command any kind of intensity on the middle palate, not the mid palate, the middle palate. And it is not really the kind of wine that I enjoy. That being said, it is somewhat serviceable to the masses, I assume. Maybe the waiting staff can drink it in the back room. I don't know where you would drink such a wine. These football games and NASCAR events that you guys go to, that would probably be an adequate place to consume such wine. To me, this is the kind of wine that's, an 80, 81 point scored wine. That's exactly where I'll actually go. I will go 80.5. Chris Stanisi, 80.5. Not 80 plus or any of these shenanigans. 80.5, please pay attention. 80.5, and not the worst wine I've ever had in my life, but clearly not something that excites me either. Once again, Pinot Gris from the Alsace proper, the Italians with all their efforts, and I give them kudos on the marketing they've been able to achieve, especially with this wine. But this wine is okay. Let's move on. I will now rinse the glass. I'm sure Gary, that clown, has never properly explained to you. You can rinse the wine and get a pretty good indication of the next wine's situation. Now, bowl up Pinot Grigio 2009. This wine comes in at $7 American. Very light on the color, which immediately requires my brain to be concerned. I will now smell this wine. I can barely smell this wine, so immediately I'm disappointed and borderline shocked and appalled by its effort. There's very little to describe other than a subtle hint of hay with maybe a sliced apple component on this wine. I will now try this wine. This wine is terrible. This wine is $7 American, and this company should pay me €7 for even trying this wine. It is extremely light. There's a little bit too much residual sugar on this wine, thus rendering me to believe it almost tastes like taking tap water and throwing a sugar cube in it and leaving it. Maybe you would throw in a sliced pear or apple. And that is pretty much the maximum that you can expect from this wine. This is slightly more exciting than taking a bucket of water and drinking it. I am really disappointed with this wine, but not surprised. Not surprised at all. I'm going to score this wine 61 points. And as that clown says, give it a pass. I will not add Z's like that idiot does, but I will say PASSS. Let's move on. Santa Margherita Pinot Grigio 2008 from the Alto Adige, which should be respected as an amazing area for Pinot Grigio. This wine comes to you at 24 euros. I was getting tired of using American currency. Santa Margherita is one of the great marketing success stories of all time. And as many of you, I rarely watch The Thunder Show, but I have picked up a couple episodes here and there. Kermit Lynch, I thought, did a phenomenal job. Nicholas Jolie was one of my favorites. And I was passed along a link to the Tarlato Show, and Mr. Tarlato showed his class while that clown to the left of him was trying to entertain. And he should be commended for the phenomenal job he's done in marketing this brand. I should mention also that Gary did pass on one memo, that he has panned this wine often in the past. At some level I agree with him, rightfully so. But he did have this wine recently in an Arizona blind wine tasting. I have no idea why he would go to Arizona to try wine. You barely make good wine in California. And he actually liked it. And it did very well in his blind tastings. So, that is why it is here. And the fact that every one of you that is watching this show has the ability to find this wine at a supermarket. Let's smell this wine. It is dramatically more intriguing on the nose than the last wine, especially since we could not smell anything in the last one. There is a lemon-scented papaya tropical ting on this wine. It's not bad. Let's try this wine. Before I review this wine, I know what you're thinking right now. Why can't Sir Gary Vaynerchuk do every episode of Wine Library TV? There are many reasons, because I'm busy tasting tremendous wine that you can only dream of drinking while I'm not on this camera. But it's mainly because I don't like you either. I don't like any of you. I disrespect every aspect of what you guys bring to the wine world. And I'm actually contemplating, as I'm tasting this wine, which by the way is average, to never do this show again. I just felt like I needed to tell you that. And please, if you ever stumble across me, which you never will at a winery because I will always be drinking wine better than you, but in the streets, let's say by accident we stumble into each other, definitely not at a restaurant because I only eat at 3-star Michelin, and I know that you eat at things like McDonald's. But however, maybe in an airport, if we ever stumble across each other, please do not say anything to me. Do not look at me. I have nothing to say to you. I do not like this wine all that much. However, I do recognize some of its characteristics may be okay to some of you. It has a decent body weight, and there are some flavor profiles that are intriguing. Most of all, almost like a cucumber-scented water. Like my dear friend Martha, you may not know this, I basically trained Martha Stewart in everything she knows when it comes to beverage. My dear friend Martha likes to make water with different scents and flavors. I even believe that I turned her on to the cucumber-scented water, which I'm very fond of, and this has a little bit of that characteristic, a hint of pear, and almost a squash-like flavor on the finish, which to me is intriguing in some ways. That all being said, the mid-palate transition to the finish is a hair awkward, and even though the body weight is full, I still think it lacks the depth or the complexity that a palate such as mine deserves. I will score this wine, though, 87 points. So for all my bashing, as you can see by my score, it does show better than some of the prior or previous vintages. That is all I have to say to you. Christopher, you're the only one I can barely tolerate in this entire universe. Even that being said, I don't even like you that much either. Oh, correct, I forgot. He asks a stupid question at the end of this show, doesn't he? Why am I so great? You, with him, change nothing. I am the wine world.